I am really excited to be doing this video. I have a couple of new plants that I'm going to grow this year, and I've never grown them before, so I want to see how they do this year. I prepared a spot in the garden for them, and now I am ready to plant them. There are 3 plants that I want to highlight in this video. One is the Bush Clover, or Lespedeza capitata. This plant is actually native to North America. It's a legume, so it may also facilitate the fixation of nitrogen into the soil. This plant is also a perennial, right? So you can get those perennial living roots in the soil year-round from this plant, and it will help to sustain and feed the life within the soil, right? That microbiome, all those fungi, the bacterias, all those beneficial microbes. The second plant that I'm going to be growing this year that I've never grown before is biscuitroot, right? It's actually a plant that's in the carrot family, so it's an umbelliferous vegetable. It's also called Lomatium macrocarpum. So actually, if allowed to go to flower, this plant might also draw in a lot of different beneficial insects with its pollen and nectar that it produces. Right, a lot of the beneficial flies, parasitic wasps, and other such beneficial insects that can prey upon the quote-unquote bad guys. So this plant is also said to have edible roots, one thing that I plan on trying and experimenting with preserving it for over the winter, like different ways of drying it, grinding it down into a meal, just kind of different ideas of how I can incorporate it into my diet. Now the third plant I have grown before, it is the Bitter Sneezeweed. It's native to Central America and kind of the southern area of North America. This plant is also referred to as Helenium amarum, right? But that plant is not edible. But it does have a beautiful flower, and it can help to attract beneficial pollinators like bees, butterflies, maybe some other insects as well, into the garden, into that ecosystem. So I'm going to be planting these 3 plants together in the garden. These plants seem to require some level of cold stratification, so I'm going to be planting them, direct seeding them out into the garden right now in February and March. That way it gives it time so that the seeds can get cold and wet and begin to go through the process of breaking their dormancy so they can sprout up later in the spring. Alright, so it is February 4th and I'm out here prepping a garden bed. I just weeded out all the area, kind of cleared the area a bit, and immediately started planting some seeds, right? So down this row, I already planted and covered it up, but this is the roundhead bush clover. So it's a legume, it's a nitrogen fixer, and so basically these seeds need time to stratify, right? So they need time in a cold, damp environment, and then to go through the freeze and thaw cycles that winter and early spring weather can cause. Then in this middle section, I am about to plant the Bitter Sneezeweed. This is a plant that you want to make sure you barely cover the seeds. Germination of them wasn't tremendous last year, but I'm going to try again this year and see how they do. They can be an annual. Then in this third row, farthest from the camera, I'm going to plant the biscuitroot because again that also needs cold stratification. I also figure, since I'm planting a lot of these plants so early in the season, that whatever don't sprout or germinate in the spring, I can overplant with other plants and such during the later spring plantings, early summer plantings, so that I can maximize the space availability in this garden bed. So this is what the biscuitroot seeds look like. This plant is native to North America. Another name for this plant is Big Seed Biscuitroot. Obviously, it's got pretty big seeds, and so I'm going to go ahead and plant these. I'm going to try to give them some space. I don't know what the germination rate will be, but we'll see. So the seeds of all 3 of these plants whether it was last year or this year, I got from the Experimental Farm Network. They have a really cool website of a whole bunch of different types of seeds. They have a very wide selection and a very unique selection of different species of plants or varieties of crops, and I really enjoy checking out their website each year to see what types of plants I might want to add into my garden for each new year. So I'm not getting any kickback from them or anything like that, but the link is down in the description if you want to go check them out too. I highly recommend it. So thank you so much for checking out this video on my companion planting of these 3 plants, the biscuit root, the bitter sneezeweed, and the bush clover. Right? The alliteration was not planned, but hopefully these plants will sprout up well in the spring, and I'll be able to update all of you on how these plants are doing and what they look like. So I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.